Welcome. My name is Bert. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make albondigas, which is a traditional Mexican meatball soup. This recipe comes down to me from my father. It was given to him by my Lita, my grandmother, and she was a native of Mexico. So this is a very simple Mexican, authentic Mexican recipe that I think you're really going to enjoy. So let's get started. Okay, first we're going to mix up the meatballs. So we take about a pound of ground beef. My preference is to get as lean as possible. This is 93% lean. The leaner it is, the better, because your fatty meats are going to just result in a much fattier and more unhealthy soup. So we take our meat, we're going to spread it out a little bit, and we're going to add our spices to this and then mix it all up and make balls out of it. So we add our oregano, we add our pepper, we add our salt, and we add some minced garlic. We take all of those and just mix them around in the meat, kneading it together until all of those spices are evenly spread throughout the meat. We will then take this mixture, once it's evenly spread, and turn it into meatballs. The meatballs, you want them to be about bite size, so you're looking about an inch about an inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch in size. We ball them up in our hands right here. So you're looking for a meatball that comes out about that size. We're going to take all of this meat, create meatballs, and then we'll be ready for the next step. Okay, with the meatballs done, we will now take our tomatoes. We're going to take 3 Roma tomatoes and we will dice these up fairly small. With the tomatoes cut and diced into a bowl, we will now cut the green onions. I like to use a large chopping knife, makes the process much faster. We want to use as much of the bunch of green onions as we can. So we line up the tips, cut them off, and then we will use the rest of the green onion. Okay, now we have our vegetables cut and ready to go. If you were going to use fresh garlic and mince that, you could certainly do that at this point. You want to end up with about a tablespoon worth. It's a good idea, it has a nice flavor, but getting the minced garlic that you can get jarred is much faster and makes for just as good a flavor. So we're going to take this and we're going to dump that into our bowl. We're going to add to our pot here a little bit of oil, just enough to coat the bottom of the pan, really, about a tablespoon, probably no more than that. And we're also going to dust it with salt. Not a lot, just enough to kind of release a little bit of the juices. And then at this point, we turn on our stove up to medium-high. We're going to let this saute for around 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, as you can see, the tomatoes are beginning to break down a little bit, and we're starting to get mixed in here. We're just about ready to now add our water to this mixture and begin cooking our soup. So with the sauteing done, it's time to add our water. Alright, with our water added, you can see our initial saute of vegetables floating in there, helping to flavor that water. We will now add, before we add anything else, our spices to the water. So we have the same spices we used in the meatballs: oregano, pepper, and salt. And to the soup, we're also going to add menudo mix. Now, I've had many people ask me about menudo mix in my recipes, Some are not familiar with it. Menudo is a special kind of soup that they make in Mexico. Menudo mix is just a mix of spices that they use for that. Essentially, it's oregano and some crushed red pepper and a small amount of actually lemon zest. So what there's a substitution that you can add to this. Just double the oregano, add a little bit of the crushed red pepper, and if you happen to have lemon zest around, you can add just a touch of that, and it will give you a sense of that kind of flavor. It just adds a slightly different turn to it. The soup comes out just fine without it, however, using a substitution if that's better for you. So after that, we would then take and begin adding our meatballs. You want to be careful about how you drop those in so they don't splash out too much. And the real trick to making the soup work is adding all of the different ingredients at the right time. The meatballs need to cook the longest. If you add some of the other vegetables in too early, they will end up too mushy and soft and don't make for a good flavor within the soup. So we start with meatballs, and we're going to just let these meatballs cook for a little while before we add in our carrots. Okay, while our soup is cooking up, we have about half a head of cabbage here. I'm going to take that head of cabbage and using a large chopping knife, cut it into fairly small pieces. Cabbage is wonderfully easy to cut. You can go right down through it, and then we'll simply crossways, and it'll be done. I don't want to cut them too small, because we want to have some size-ish-able pieces in there. So we're going to cut about 1 inch in length. And now that I've gone down that far, it's done. It just falls apart like that. Now we can leave this here or put it in a bowl and save that until it is time to add this. The cabbage comes at the end of the recipe, because if you put this in too early, it will get soggy and soft. So we'll be putting that in a little while after we get our carrots in. This would also be the time to dice your carrots if you're using garden carrots or the longer traditional large carrots. All right, after 10 minutes, as you can see, our soup is now boiling. So we're going to turn this down to medium heat and now add our carrots. Once again, being careful to drop it in so that we don't get splashed. We will let these cook for a little while as well. And our last ingredient will then go in, our cabbage. And after we let that cook for a little while, it'll be ready to go. All right, our carrots and our meatballs have been cooking for an additional 15 minutes. The carrots are now medium soft, so we can get through them a little bit. We're going to cook them a little bit longer, because now we're going to add our cabbage. So in we go with the cabbage, once again very carefully, so as not to make a mess or get burned by the boiling water. And we're going to drop all of that in there and let this cook for just a short time now, and we are almost ready to eat. So we've been cooking for about another 10 minutes, and this soup is ready to go. We're going to go ahead and turn the burner off. We might let the soup cook just a little longer there on the stove as the burner cools. But fairly quickly we're going to move it away from the burner. It's a very good idea to let this soup rest a little bit, because it's quite hot before serving it up. But the vegetables are ready. It is going to be scrumptious. So there you have it, albondigas. Serve yourself up a bowl, grab a tortilla, and enjoy. Sincere thanks for spending time with me today, and I do hope you get the chance to enjoy this wonderful recipe. Take care.